Michael Patrick Shields is on the air.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant hump day Wednesday to you. It's Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan. And tonight, Powerball jackpot, Gary Austin, $155 million at stake.
Right.
Got a ticket?
Not yet, but thanks for the reminder.
I have. I only buy $2 worth, and people say only $2 worth. But you know the difference between buying $2 and $10 or $20 or even $100 is so infinitesimal. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's you know, doesn't
it's like a drop in the ocean. But now, do you do the routine where the quick pick, or do you like doing your own number configuration?
I have one. Same thing every time. One quick pick. And numbers that I play every single time, and those
the same numbers.
Yep, and those numbers are numbers that I wore during I played sports.
Oh,
when I played football and baseball, so all through my entire athletic career.
Have you always played those numbers?
Yes, because I'm afraid if I don't and they come out,
that's right.
That would be bad.
I know that's true. So they're your lucky numbers. So far, they haven't been lucky, but you hope someday they will.
Yeah, I know they will because, and it might be this time, and I'll tell you why. See, I'm very, is the word impulsive? In other words, if I'm driving down the road and I see a gas station and I see Powerball sign in the window, I'm like, that's a sign. That's
make a
sign.
You make a special stop for no other reason. You'll go in to buy that ticket.
You imagine how bad I would feel if I'd say, I'm just going to keep going this week, and the numbers came out, and say, you had the sign was there.
You better be careful. You'll be doing a lot of stopping with that attitude.
Well, I only buy it if it's a big jackpot because I won't be bothered with a little one.
And you only do it once.
When it gets about 75, 80 million, then I pay attention. After that, no dice.
Yeah.
So this one, I've been buying this for about 3 times in a row now because it's been high, and nobody wins, so it keeps rolling over. And the first time I went to buy one, I told the young guy in the party store, I'm going to win this thing. And he said, "Sir, you look like a lucky man." I took that as a sign. You know what I mean? He didn't have to say that. He said, "You look like a lucky man." And he's a college student. He said, "Can you help me with my tuition?" And I said, "Yeah, if I win, I'll come back to this store and I'll help with your tuition." And he said, "Can we have a little vacation first, to clear our heads?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, we can do that too." So anyway, that's just sort of funny.
That's good.
Now we laugh about it, but I could be sitting here tomorrow morning having won.
That's
How do you know?
true. And then you'll be doing the laughing. That's right.
Or I won't be sitting here.
You don't strike me, though, as a superstitious type. Hearing, this conversation kind of heads in that direction.
Well, I am of Irish descent, and so there's definitely some superstition in that heritage. No question about it. By the way, did I tell you we're going to be broadcasting from Ireland for St. Patrick's Day?
Yes, you reminded us of that several times. I think that is terrific.
It's only about 3 weeks away, the greatest holiday of the year, and thanks to the villages at Tullymore and the Tullymore Resort, they're going to sponsor the trip, and we're going to go over there on Delta Vacations, and we're going to explore for you Ireland and bring you all those Irish voices and all the excitement and all the the politicians and the poets and the publicans and the priests even, and it's going to be a very authentically Irish show live from County Clare, Ireland on March 17th, thanks to Tullymore.
Yes, and I think you should keep reminding us of that for those who, they tune in from time to time, don't catch the show, sadly, in its entirety, so they should know this is quite the big deal, and I know this is really your thing.
Yeah, we'll have music and musicians, and it's going to be all of my pals. A lot of my pals in Ireland will be there. We're going to talk to the United States ambassador to Ireland as well, and lots of other surprises, too. So that's March 17th. It's a Thursday this year, live from Ireland.
Terrific.
I was very, very, very sad to hear what happened in that piracy case yesterday off of Somalia. The 4 Americans, as you know by now, were killed by those pirates. As I understand it, there were just scores of pirates on that ship. It wasn't like the last time where you had 3, 4 pirates and 2 people. It was something like 4 civilians and 20 pirates, and so it was a lot more complicated. Yep. They'd been taken. They were sailing, as I understand it, from Thailand, from Phuket, and they went to Bombay, and then they were going on, and they were along the coast of Oman, next to Somalia, when the pirates came on board, and it ended terribly. All 4 of these sort of retirement-age people who were living their dream for the last 5 years, sailing around the world, passing out Bibles and meeting people and exploring, have met their end. And the pirates are already, claiming they're going to get revenge on the pirates that have now been captured or killed as a result of that. Our business will go on.
Yeah, it
is
really
the,
it's
haunting.
just a
Very haunting word, isn't it?
terrible thing. I mean, you just don't know. I mean, the safety of those international waters once again in question. You know, one of those killed was a Michigan State University grad.
Phyllis McKay
Yeah,
of
she was
Seattle.
from the Southfield area, and one of the 4 killed when that yacht was attacked by these pirates. Just absolutely terrible. She had been living in the Seattle area for the last 25 years or so, and you know, according to this story, she was living out her dream of sailing around the world and helping people, handing out Bibles. And what a terrible end. I mean, it's just a tragedy. And but you know, the sad part about this, Michael Patrick Shields, you know, we've seen this happen before, and stories like this crop up about every 6-8 months or so. Something like this happens. And we are hearing now Secretary of State Hillary Clinton going on saying we've got to do something about getting these international waters under control so this sort of thing can't happen again. But, you know, we can't be everywhere at once. And if people want to sail around and sort of, you know, take this calculated risk, there's nothing stopping them. So it would seem, short of the U.S. government saying, just don't do it anymore, we're not going to allow this. I mean, this sort of thing could easily happen again.
Yeah, Phyllis McKay, the late Phyllis McKay, now her brother lives in Howell, and we will attempt to speak with him this morning if he's up to it to talk about his sister and what she meant to him. Rahm Emanuel is going to be the mayor of Chicago.
Yeah,
right?
Yep, he got that gig, a little touch and go there for a while. You know, it was speculating if he would even make it on the ballot. There was some concern because he'd been out of the state for so long and away from the city that there should be some changes made and he shouldn't be on the ballot. But that fight was won, and the voters in Chicago have had their say. So the former staffer with the Obama administration is now heading up the city of Chicago, and that's got to be a tough job.
The Chicago machine continues.
Yes, that's a lot of work. I mean, all cities are facing their fair share of problems. Here in Detroit, our biggest city, Dave Bing, with his second annual State of the City address last night, the mayor touted a reduction in violent crimes, lower unemployment, and ambitious plans to eradicate vacant homes. Dave Bing says he's turning the city around, focusing on the city's many accomplishments over the past 2 years.
Police are looking for somebody who robbed a PNC bank in Lansing on Cedar Street at gunpoint yesterday afternoon. There was a shot fired during the robbery. No one was hurt, though. Broad daylight, 1:50 in the afternoon. Black male, 6'1" tall, blue hooded sweatshirt over a light blue T-shirt, black and red warm-up pants, walked into the bank with a handgun and demanded cash from the teller. He made off with an undisclosed amount. They were unsuccessful in, trailing him with the dogs and that sort of thing. So if you know anything about that, call the police. And you were getting a spike in gas prices, aren't we, thanks to the unrest in the Middle East?
They keep on edging up every time we turn around, and this could be a prelude of things to come, because if this doesn't settle down, all these projections of gasoline hitting $4 plus by summertime will be a reality. Did you hear that story out of Big Rapids, where a woman there got a really big towing bill, and she got so upset she allegedly took a baseball bat and really went to town in this place. Coffee maker, fax machine, computer monitors, all smashed to bits.
She was involved in one of those snow accidents on 131, and she had to
a few
be
days
towed,
ago, right? Yeah, that's how it all
then
started.
when she found out how much it cost, she had a bird.
Yeah,
a blue brick, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, she really went nuts. I mean, if she thought her tab for her repair bill was high, the damage she did, $3 to $5 grand inside this shop.
I wish there was a
repair.
security camera shot of that, because it must have been something. You think Bobby Knight throwing a chair is bad? Can you imagine this lady smashing up the coffee maker with a baseball bat?
I mean, I can't. I mean, what in the world? I mean, is one thing getting upset and maybe saying, sir, I think this bill is a little bit high. Can we try to work something out? And it's something else entirely, grabbing the baseball.
Things are tense. People are tense. They're on their last nerve. And it's winter too, and that makes it worse. And so they're jumping at people and snapping at people, don't you think?
Yeah, and talk about a little edgy yesterday at the state capitol. Big crowd, both sides, as we know. Those
right down the street from us.
Yeah, those who say Governor Snyder's doing the right thing by cutting the budget the way he is. Others saying he's going too far, it's too extreme. We had both sides. I mean, there were some tense moments. I mean, there's some folks, exchanging, different points of view politically, the old saying, good advice from Mom and Dad. Never discuss religion and politics, but there was a lot of political talking at the Capitol. I'm glad to say cooler heads prevailed. I mean, there was nothing, nobody got out of control or anything, but boy, people really had their chance to state their opinion, and they were all hoping state lawmakers were listening.
Speaking of state lawmakers, a state senator was attacked by a pit bull yesterday. We'll tell you who and what happened, and lots of other surprising stories. Also, United States Senator Debbie Stabenow coming next. He's Gary Austin. It's Michael Patrick Shields. You don't want to miss this. Here comes Amanda Wall, the producer, with the green and white flowers that I've decided to festoon the studio with in anticipation of our St. Patrick's Day show from Ireland. It's a big bouquet. I bought these for myself, all right, of green and white daisies, and I don't even know what these little marigolds may be, but everything's green and white, and then I surrounded the plant with 4 shamrock plants, and it's awfully green as we're getting ready for that. Live St. Patrick's Day show brought to you by Tullymore Resorts, and that music signifies it's time for the answer man. It's sort of mystical music, and it implies that my wisdom comes from the east, which not always is true. Sometimes it comes from parts south, as Gary Austin attempts to stump me with the answer man questions. Good morning, Gary Austin.
Well, here we are, ready to go for another session.
Yeah, speaking of sessions, did you happen to see Piers Morgan last night?
No, I missed that.
Hugh Hefner was the guest of the program. Hef, as he's called, right? The guy who founded the Playboy Empire. And he's in his 80s, and at Christmas time, do you know what he did?
What?
Got engaged.
Oh.
Again.
Very good.
He's going to get married. And his fiancée was on the program with him. She is a statuesque, stunning blonde, okay? And her name is Crystal Harris. And I think she's in her late 20s, if I'm not mistaken, okay? Now, at first you might say, wow, this might be really some kind of bimbo here, right? Some kind of Playboy model who's going to marry an 80-year-old guy. And then you listen to her talk, and it took me aback. And then I started to say, you know what? She sounds real. I mean, she sounds unique, let's put it that way, right? Genuine. But she started to grow on me because she was so, I don't know. You listen to this and you tell me for yourself. Here's Hugh Hefner yesterday on Piers Morgan with his new fiancée.
I think you've got a scoop for me, haven't you? You're going to reveal the date of the wedding.
The date of the wedding. Can I tell him?
Sure.
It is June 18th.
June the 18th.
This year, Saturday.
Well, we'll be there. Obviously, there'll be a
excited.
huge CNN breaking news event.
Of course, you're invited.
A June bride. And
Bride.
my brother will be my best man. The groomsmen will be my 2 youngest sons, Marston and Cooper.
It's
And
going to be a lot of fun. We've done...
the bridesmaids.
Bridesmaids are... My best friend, Anna, is my maid of honor, and my 2 sisters are going to be my bridesmaids.
Is it going to be a big glitzy Hollywood affair? Is it going to be at the mansion? And
It will be at the mansion, but it'll be a little more intimate.
It's going to be fun. I mean, he got married once in the front yard, so I asked if we could do it in the backyard. It's really pretty.
In front of the waterfall. Very
We have
romantic.
a waterfall, koi
Very romantic.
pond.
and how did you propose, Hef?
Well, it was on Christmas Eve. We were opening presents, and I hid the ring inside a little box of her favorite princess, Disney princess, is Ariel, the mermaid.
Yeah, I love
So
Disneyland.
I had a little Ariel box, and hidden in it was the ring.
He handed it to me, and he was winding it up, and I'm like, what's going on? I knew it was a little music box. I opened it, it started twirling, and the ring was inside. I mean, I knew. He just said, I hope it fits. And it didn't. It was too big.
Now, look,
Started to cry.
let me just play the opposite end of this happy union here. There'll be people watching this saying, Crystal, come on. What are you doing marrying a guy in his 80s? What's the magic of Hugh Hefner?
I love Hef. He's the nicest person I've ever met in my entire life. I have so much fun with him.
Jeez.
That's very nice.
What do you think, Gary?
Very nice. I think that's very, well, you know. I told you, Hugh Hefner, there's a guy who's, I mean, people lead interesting lives, and then there are people who really lead interesting lives. And boy, Hugh
Yeah,
Hefner,
he's
quite a life. 82 years old.
Invited himself to a lot of parties, I'm sure.
He sure has.
Now, there's something about her, though. I was prepared to not like her because she's got to be gold digger, right, and all that. But she seems like genuinely enthusiastic and almost kind of silly. Don't you think?
Oh, sure. Sounds very sincere, very genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and now here's the interesting part. Piers Morgan asked them. He asked Crystal, "You really think that Hugh Hefner is going to be faithful? Do you really think you're the last woman he's ever going to have sex with?" And she's stunned. She looked at him and she said, "I don't know what to say." And they looked at each other because obviously, and then she says, "Well, everything we do is non-traditional, so I can't really answer that question." And so Piers Morgan said to Hef, "Is she the only one you're going to have upstairs in your bedroom?" And he says, "Unless she invites someone else." So the implication between the two of them was that it's going to be a marriage, but it's going to be a marriage of, non-traditional participation.
Wow.
Let's put it that way.
Now, what can we read into that?
Yeah,
So
well, you
pretty much
don't
use
have
your
to read too
imagination.
much. You can imagine. And then they asked him, he asked Hugh Hefner at his age, does he have any war wounds? And he says, "Yeah, I've got a really sore lower back problem that happened from about 10 years ago when I had one too many playmates in bed."
Oh, is he
What
saying all
said.
this?
He said it right there
Don't.
with Piers
I'm
Morgan.
kidding.
And
Oh,
she's
gosh.
sitting right next to him. She says, "Oh, I thought that was a joke. That's true." And he's like, "Yeah, this was really something." And it's going to, the wedding, I don't know which will be more fun. The royal wedding with Prince William and Kate, or the wedding of Hugh Hefner and this Crystal girl that's going to take place in June.
I don't know. I think a lot of attention will be drawn to both. Actually. No question.
Which would you rather be, King of England or Hugh Hefner?
Don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. That's really a lot of insight there. Hey, what happened to Answer Man? Is this
Answer
segment
Man.
over already?
Oh, tell me this. I'll ask you a question.
All right.
What giant legendary celebrity is going to be on with us later in this program?
Someone who's very, very important, and we all know this person's name.
Bill Cosby will be with us in a
Very
couple of
good.
hours on this program.
Excellent.
He's coming
Excellent.
to Michigan, and he'll be with us on the phone. It's
Great. Answer Man next.
the window.
No?
Yeah,
Yes, no?
well, if you want to, sure.
I'll stick around.
I will too. It's Michael Patrick Shields, and it's Wednesday. 10 minutes before the hour, Gary Austin back with more of the Answer Man segment. This is typically where he asks me questions, and I've never been wrong because I draw on the wisdom of the hat that you see me wearing right now. You can see it on Fox 47 if you're in the Lansing area. That's 7 on most of the cable systems, I think. And, of course, on YouTube, we have a YouTube channel, and you can come right down here to our Gillespie Group storefront studio on the Avenue of Michigan and watch through the window of the coffee house or from the window to the street or the lobby with memorabilia. Come on down and say hello some morning and have a cup of coffee and be part of the show if you want, or just hang back and watch. It's cozy and it's fun. Now, Gary Austin, before we get to your questions, I'd like to ask you a couple of quick questions, if I could, sir.
I'll do my best to answer. Answer Man, however, we must keep in mind I do not have the advantage of the Answer Man hat at my disposal, so
Sorry about that.
I'm at a
It's
disadvantage.
too bad. Who won the Red Wing game yesterday in Detroit between the San Jose Sharks and the Red Wings?
One or the other.
One team or the other did. Let's find out from radio broadcaster Ken Cal.
Thanks, Michael Patrick. Devin Setaguchi netted a pair of goals, and Joe Thornton had a goal and 2 assists, leading the way for the San Jose Sharks to a 4-3 victory over the Red Wings last night at Joe Louis Arena. The loss snapped Detroit's 5-game win streak. Jimmy Howard stopped 17 Shark shots, most of them coming on a long Shark 5-on-3 power play in the first period. Joe Thornton netted the power play goal with 8 seconds left. For Thornton, it was his 300th career goal. Dan Cleary netted a pair of goals in the second period. Ryan Close scored on a breakaway, and Devin Setaguchi also connected as San Jose led 3-2 after 40 minutes of play. Setaguchi's game winner came at the 13-12 mark of the final period. Henrik Zetterberg rounded out the scoring with a power play tally. Sharks outshot the Red Wings 43-38. The final again, San Jose 4 and the Red Wings 3. That's the story from Joe Louis Arena. Now back to you, Michael Patrick, in the studio.
So you were right, Gary. One team or the other won. It wasn't a tie, put it that way.
I learned that technique from a fella called the Answer Man.
The Michigan State Spartans were at Minnesota for a sort of a late game yesterday. Who won that game?
I would say either the good guys or the not so good guys.
Adam Ruff, what do you think?
Michael Patrick, last night's game meant a lot to both Michigan State and Minnesota, and it showed by the physical play and defensive intensity as MSU won the Big Ten-style fist fight 53-48. The win did not come easy as MSU trailed 47-39 with 4:33 left. However, MSU ramped up the intensity and ended the game on a 14-1 run by making 7 free throws in the final minute to win the game. Now leading the way in this one was, guess who? Kalen Lucas, who with his 18 points in the game moved into 6th place on the all-time MSU scoring list. And with the win, MSU's record improves to 16-11 overall and 8-7 within the conference, good for 4th place in the Big Ten. Up next is a Sunday matinee affair with number 8 Purdue. Tip-off is slated for 1 p.m. For MPS in the Morning, I'm Adam Ruff with the Spartan Sports Network.
That weekend game against Purdue will be at the Breslin Center. The
Very
Pistons
good.
lost the first of their first game back yesterday, the second half, 108-100 to the Houston Rockets. They take on the Pacers in Indiana tonight. And Miguel Cabrera is going to appear in court in Port St. Lucie, Florida, on March 16th, charged with DUI. See, they had to make sure they had the court hearing before St. Patrick's Day in case he gets a little crazy. What do you think? All right, that's not funny. Gary Austin, your questions?
Yes. Well, the MSU Spartans, the basketball team, glad to see things are on track. The good guys winning. Glad to see that yesterday. Okay, the theme of sports. Let's keep it rolling here. The mayor of Pittsburgh, Luke Ravenstahl, he's paying off his bet for the Green Bay Packers winning Super Bowl 45. What's he paying off?
Oh, he's got to do something embarrassing.
Yeah, I'd say flying a Packers flag out front of City Hall.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah.
And also providing some food to the less fortunate, too. He's agreed to do that.
Oh,
and
that's
he
nice.
finished the bet by shoveling the walkway in front of a church, the home parish of Packers coach and Pittsburgh native Mike McCarthy. All right.
By the
Hey,
way, speaking
yes.
of that, you know what I had to do yesterday? I had to shovel out my mailbox.
You didn't hire it out like you hire everything
No,
else out?
Well, yeah, but you know what happens is the neighbors park a VW little car,
Yeah.
which is embarrassing as it is, right on the street in the spot next to our driveway, and it sits there for a long time, okay? So when the city plow comes around and it's a court, they have to go around that car, which is buried, it's entombed in snow, and it results in a massive pile of snow right in front of the mailbox. Wow. I mean, it's like 4 feet deep. And so the mail Jeep can't get there to put the mail in the box.
Oh, that's right.
And I'm the only one on the court. Once it passes our house, it can go right along the edge again and clear everybody. So I had to get out there yesterday with a shovel. And it's not like shoveling snow off your porch. It's like digging. It's like, because it's 3 or 4 feet high.
It piles up, right?
Yeah.
And it gets really heavy.
It was very heavy. So I wish that that didn't happen. But every time it snows, because that car sits there, my mailbox gets buried. Right. 'Twas ever thus, right?
So
Untold suffering is seldom.
Did you? So 6 hours later, you finished the job.
I'm muttering and cursing all the whole time, too. Yes. 28 seconds. One more question. What is your question?
The internet could be encouraging what among teens and young adults? This is very strange. And I'm not talking about knowledge here either. It could be encouraging what? The internet among teens and young adults.
Something negative for them.
Yes. Viewing habits, according to this, self-harm and self-injury.
Oh, dear.
Because they try to go to extremes on things like YouTube, trying to impress their buddies, what have you. Don't do that. That's not very smart.
Don't be a jackass, like the
Yes.
Jackass movies. Don't try this at home.
Right.
The Answer Man window is closed. Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant hump day Wednesday to you. It's Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan. Later this hour, the son of Joe Louis, the great boxer, will join us. Joe Louis Barrow. He is the CEO of the First Tee. What's that? It's part of the PGA Tour that exposes kids to golf in rural and urban areas where they otherwise might not have access to golf, and the things that it can do for you from a sort of socio-economic standpoint. It teaches kids how to network. It gets them involved in a sport where they have to keep their own score, and it instills life skills. And they have made the transition. The honorary chairman was President George Herbert Walker Bush. Now he's handed that duty off to his son, and it was announced this weekend that George W. Bush will be the honorary chair of the First Tee. And Joe Louis Barrow, the son of Joe Louis, will be with us on the air to talk about that. Also later in the program, Bill Cosby. Yeah, that Bill Cosby. He's coming to Michigan to perform in Grand Rapids, and he will join us. Bill Cosby, be interested to hear if we can get a chance to talk with him about what's going on in the city of Detroit. After all, Doug Pratt, who is with us right now, he is the communications director for the Michigan Education Association, will remember that Bill Cosby went knocking door to door, and you remember, in Detroit, to try to talk to kids and get his message out and do a little grassroots campaigning about the importance of education and so forth. What was that all about? Do you remember anything about that?
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of the details, but I know that that Bill Cosby, along with countless other people, certainly understand the importance of parental involvement, of education, and of making sure that kids understand how critical it is. So I'm not real familiar with what he was doing in Detroit, but I know he's one of many, I think, who are working in all of our urban areas to make sure that kids are getting to school and are getting a good education.
What do you think he'll say when I tell him that the word is that we may have to close 50% of Detroit schools, swelling the class sizes, as I understand it, to 60 pupils per classroom?
And I don't think that that's going to be unique to Detroit. I mean, we represent schools all over the state, and the budget cuts that Governor Snyder has proposed are going to cause financial turmoil all over this state. And that's going to cause class sizes to rocket.
Yeah.
Going to cause people to lose their jobs. It's going to cause turmoil in the educational lives of students. And, that's something that we need to avoid. Governor Snyder keeps calling for shared sacrifice, and public schools have been sacrificing for a decade. More cuts to education while we're giving massive tax breaks to businesses. That's not our definition of shared sacrifice.
Were you at the Capitol lawn yesterday for that rally in the morning?
I wasn't. There were actually 3 different events going on yesterday. There was the Tea Party had a small little gathering, but the unions of the state actually did a lobby day yesterday and had about 600 people in Lansing talking to lawmakers about the budget, emergency financial managers, and the other issues. And then I hear there was a whole nother crowd of people who were on the Capitol lawn. I wasn't there, but who showed up. They weren't affiliated with unions. They just were tired of the cuts. They were tired of disinvesting in our state, and they wanted to speak out. And you're going to start to hear more and more of that, I think. You see what's going on across the lake in Wisconsin. We hope that the tenor of that the attacks on the middle class and working Michigan citizens don't come here. And Governor Snyder has said that that's not the path he wants to take. But, I think certainly you're going to see people raising their voices.
What did you make of Michael Flanagan? From what I understand, he said yesterday that superintendents should not panic, that this is an opportunity to improve.
I think Superintendent Flanagan always has the best interest in mind and wants to try to make the best situation out of what he's dealt. But you look at the situation he's dealing with, he's talking about undoing some of the reforms that needed to be done to try to compete for Race to the Top funding because the money's not there to implement them. The state school reform officer, things like that. It's hard to bring all of our schools up if all of our schools are continually seeing their funding cut. It's not something that makes sense. The efficiencies have been had. School employees all over the state have sacrificed well over $1 billion in concessions to make sure that students are getting what they need. We can't keep doing this. The system is broken. It's been broken for a decade, and we want to work together with Governor Snyder to come up with real balanced solutions going forward.
Almost every legislator that's sat in that chair over the past week when the rumblings came about the budget cuts, when I talked about which parts of the budget proposal caused them to, choke a little bit, education was one of the 2.
It should be, because not a single one of them ran on a platform of, we need to gut public schools. That's not how you get elected in this state. But unfortunately, that's how some people have chosen to govern. And we think that Governor Snyder, has been talking a lot about the importance of education, how critical it is to our economy, and we're eager to continue to work with him to make those investments and make those changes that need to happen. But we can't do that when you slash, in some cases, well over $500 per student. The basic cut that we're talking about is $470. What you don't hear is that there are a lot of districts out there where they had funding coming in from different areas, and all that's been slashed. You could see districts getting more than $1,000 a kid cut. How are they supposed to raise everybody up when they're having to deal with that kind of a financial crisis? It doesn't make a lot of sense. But what we want to do is work with the governor and with the legislature on real balanced solutions to the problem. And MEA a few weeks ago came out with our A+ agenda, which is a series of those solutions. And actually, we met with the governor about it, and MEA President Salters is testifying before the House Education Committee today on that A+ agenda. We're ready to sit down at the table and work through this. But you can't do that by just slashing and burning. That's not going to help.
You met with the governor, the MEA, before he announced the budget proposal.
Yes, we actually met with him before the State of the State address.
Was he a good listener?
Yeah. No, I think he genuinely, I think, wants to do what's right for this state. I think everybody does. We've all got different perspectives and views on it, but we have to sit down and talk. And I think that's the really hopeful thing at this point. You listen to what he said to the Wall Street Journal over the weekend about how he doesn't want to pick fights with unions. He doesn't want to go down the path that Governor Walker in Wisconsin has gone down, causing thousands of people to protest at their capital. What Governor Snyder wants to do is sit down and work with people. He wants to bring people to the table. This is a proposal on a budget. It's not the end game. It's not the done deal.
Although
we need to sit down and work it through.
He said to me the other day, I said, if you could push the button and have it be implemented as is, would it work? Would you do it? He said, yeah.
Well, I think what Governor Snyder needs to realize is that A, that doesn't happen, but B, there are 148 people down there who all get to push buttons. They're going to have a say in this too, as are the citizens of this state, when they look at the real issues that this budget's going to cause. And, you know, I think Governor Snyder is going to be willing to sit down and have those conversations. He's had every indication that he's willing to do so. This is a first step in the process. But, you know, he's said that he wants this done by the end of May, which is fine. I think school districts all over the state would love to go into their budget cycle
knowing what
the score is. But I think it's critical that over these next couple of months that we have some real conversations about this.
People have said that they've gone in to brief the governor and bring him up to speed, and they find out that he's much farther along in terms of awareness than they thought he would be. Was it that way with you?
Oh, I think so. I mean, it wasn't really a briefing that we did. I mean, we brought our solutions. We brought our A+ agenda with us. But, you know, we sat down and had a conversation. How do you want to work together? How do you want to implement these kinds of solutions? And it was a good conversation. There were some areas that we brought to the table that were very clearly on his radar. You know, ending ineffective tax incentives, which is certainly part of his budget proposal. We'd like to see the ending of those not contribute simply to a massive tax cut for corporations in this state. We think that that needs to be spread out so that we can have a fairer system. But the concept is there. We want to make sure that students are prepared for college. He knows that that's a critical thing to drive our economy forward.
I bought a Powerball ticket for tonight. It's $155 million. Is some of that money coming your way?
It's one of my favorite myths about the lottery.
They say
the lottery pays for public education.
That's what they say.
The lottery does bring money to public education, but what it does is it supplants money, doesn't supplement it. So it replaces money that would otherwise have to be there. So buy your lottery ticket. Thank you.
But in other words, it's not tax deductible.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
as a donation to the schools.
Now, if you win, I think I can find some schools that would be interested in talking with you. But you know, it's not in and of itself. It isn't a windfall for public education. It's part of the funding structure. But that's part of what we need to talk about. We need to look at that whole funding structure and come up with solutions that make sense for the P20 system that Snyder's talking about.
I know we'll be in touch along the way. As you say, it's a process.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for being here very much. Doug Pratt, the Communications Director for the Michigan Education Association. Later in the program, Joe Louis Barrow, the son of Joe Louis, and Bill Cosby, the comedian, coming to Michigan. He'll talk with us first. It's 18 after the hour. It's Michael Patrick Shields all across Michigan. They are coming. The Black Bears are coming for you, aren't they? Yeah, growing numbers of black bears are migrating into southern Michigan. The state's population is surging, and we are trying to trace them because, well, they can be dangerous. Aaron McDonough is with us, the executive director of the United Michigan Conservation Clubs. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Now, it's all nice and good in mid-Michigan here. When you look out your window on a snowy day and you see 3 or 4 deer prancing around in the backyard or even running down the court in the middle of the street, the front lawn, that kind of thing. But a black bear, I could probably do without. Are they really going to be more ever-present in the Lower Peninsula?
You know, Michael, I can't really answer that question. I know that they've had some sightings in some southern towns and that the DNR has been able to control those bear. Actually, this is the first time that I've heard that there could be a growing problem.
80% of the bears are in the Upper Peninsula. And but sightings are picking up farther south, apparently. They tend to be younger males that have been chased off by older males, so they're looking for territory. And they go to areas where they do not have competition. So we've got this fruit belt, right? All those orchards down the west side of the state. And they get hungry, and they come looking for food, and they eat a lot of vegetation, according to the DNRE, but they do have the potential to harm people and pets if they're not respected. Respecting the bears and the wilderness altogether is a good idea, especially in this case, right?
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I mean, these wild animals are not house pets, and they shouldn't be used for photo ops with your children or anything like that. They need to be thoroughly respected, and there's a lot of horror stories out at Yellowstone of people, taking their kids up to wild animals and having harm happen, and you don't want to see that happen here.
Yeah, we don't have giant bears like that, do we?
No, we do not have grizzly bears.
Yeah, I mean, I actually was in it was Aspen, Colorado one summer for the Food and Wine Festival, and we were driving through a neighborhood at dusk, and sure enough, there's this massive, to me it was massive, brown bear digging through the trash right there on the side of the street. It was like seeing a ghost or a monster, and he was right there in the neighborhood with people, their porches and decks and everything else.
Yeah, we have the black bear, and people, they should definitely not be feeding the bears and trying to bring them up to their house if they're worried that there might be a problem.
Now, speaking of the outdoors and hunting and all the rest, there's some talk yesterday. We had a couple of legislators in here talking about the idea of shifting the opening of firearm deer season. Right now, I guess it falls on the 15th, no matter what day of the week that is. Is that how it works?
Yep, it's November 15th. Yep.
And the idea is to move it to the first Saturday that's nearest to the 15th so that, I guess, people can plan, and instead of having to interrupt their work week, they can count on 1, 2, 3 full weekends of deer hunting season. Do you like that idea?
That's a tricky one, and so our membership wants us to look at kind of all the pros and cons of this issue and decide then whether we're going to support the legislation. And so there's a lot of pros to it because you see, with the economy being so bad, it's hard for people to get off of work now during the middle of the week to participate in that. And, things have changed at schools. It's harder for kids to get opening day off. It used to be a holiday where everybody had it off. So that would help. And you see across the years when there's an opening day on Saturday that the number of licenses sold really peaks. But where the issue gets a little bit murky is that if it's during the week, you actually see the trend of people spending more days afield. So if opening day is on Saturday, then you might get more people that day. But if it's on a Thursday, you might get people going up to their hunting camps for a longer period of time. So it's really kind of a balance. It's a tough issue. There's a lot of people that feel really passionate about the tradition, and there's an equal amount of people that feel that, times have changed and we have to look at changing with them to keep people out and enjoying the deer season.
So, for instance, if the 15th fell on a Tuesday, somebody might go up the Friday before after work and stay through the weekend and then on into the week for opening day.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So everything is tricky. You try to look at the ripple effect.
Nothing's ever easy.
No, I guess not. So we'll see what happens. I understand that a lot of people like the tradition. They like the variety that comes with, sometimes it's on a Friday, sometimes it's on a Thursday, that kind of thing. But they're going to have
And then we'll also have to look at, depending on what if the Saturday closest to the 15th is like the 12th? Is that going to be too early in the season to actually start hunting?
You've got the annual Outdoor Rama show this weekend, 38th annual, in fact.
Yeah, this is a great show, and it is at the Suburban Showplace, which used to be called the Rock Financial Showplace, down in Novi. And, you know, this is a great show for people to come to if they're interested in getting their kids engaged in the outdoors and getting exposed to all the variety of hunting, fishing, trapping, outdoor pursuits that are out there. It's a really cool event.
All right, and the how much does it cost to get in?
It's $10 for adults, but if you go to if you go to a Wendy's, they have discount coupons there, and you can also get your tickets at the door at OutdoorRama.com.
Good place to bring your kids?
Yeah, they have tons of stuff for kids. So the Metro West Steelheader booth and the charter boat captains have a thing where you can practice reeling in a salmon or any kind of Great Lake fish, and you can feel that pressure on the line. They have a pond that has all kinds of game fish in it, where they have a fly tying booth. I mean, all kinds of great stuff for kids.
All right, it's this weekend, and if you want more information, mucc.org or michiganoutofdoors.com, and you can check it all out. Well, thank you, Aaron. Watch out for the black bears, will you, please?
Yes, thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right, thank you very much. 32 minutes after the hour, Bill Cosby will be joining us next hour on the program. The Bill Cosby, the legendary comedian. And wasn't that long ago, he gave a commencement speech at Carnegie Mellon. And when I was doing the research, you know, there were lots of comedy bits and so forth, but this was part of his speech that he gave to the graduating students at Carnegie Mellon. And if you're a business person, or you're a student, or you're somebody who's trying to make a go of it in this challenging economy through this long Michigan winter, maybe you've got budget cuts coming your way, maybe you're just trying to cover the rent. Here's what Bill Cosby said.
Don't talk yourself into not being you at any time. You don't have an excuse that works when you say, but I was nervous. That's not you. That's not how you got here. Yeah, you can be nervous. It's good for you. It tunes you. But people want to see you. I don't care what you do. When you're good, then you bring you out.
Pretty nice advice this morning from Bill Cosby. We'll talk with him live a little bit later. How about Hugh Hefner yesterday on, did you see this on Piers Morgan? Here's Hugh Hefner with his brand new fiance on Piers Morgan yesterday.
I think you've got a scoop for me, haven't you? You're going to reveal the date of the wedding.
The date of the wedding, can I tell him?
Sure.
It is June 18th.
June the 18th.
This year, Saturday.
Well, we'll be there. Obviously,
we're
it'll be a huge CNN breaking news event.
Of course, you're invited.
A June bride. And
Bride.
my brother will be my best man. The groomsmen will be my two youngest sons, Marston and Cooper. And
It's going to be a lot of fun. We've done...
the bridesmaids.
Bridesmaids are my best friend Anna is my maid of honor, and my two sisters are going to be my bridesmaids.
Is it going to be a big glitzy Hollywood affair? Is it going to be at the mansion? And
It will be at the mansion, but it'll be a little more intimate.
It's going to be fun. I mean, he got married once in the front yard, so I asked if we could do it in the backyard. It's really pretty.
In front of the waterfall. Very
We have
romantic.
a waterfall, koi pond.
and how did you propose, Hef?
Well, it was on Christmas Eve. We were opening presents, and I hid the ring inside a little box of her favorite princess, Disney princess is Ariel, the mermaid.
Yeah, I love
So
Disneyland.
I had a little Ariel box, and hidden in it was the ring.
He handed it to me, and he was winding it up, and I'm like, what's going on? I knew it was a little music box. I opened it, it started twirling, and the ring was inside. I knew. He just said, I hope it fits. And it didn't. It was too big.
Now, look, let me just play the opposite end of this happy union here. There'll be people watching this saying, Crystal, come on. What are you doing marrying a guy in his 80s? What's the magic of Hugh Hefner?
I love Hef. He's the nicest person I've ever met in my entire life. I have so much fun with him.
And she's in her 20s, and he's in his 80s. Wedding bells will be ringing in June for Hugh Hefner, 35 minutes after the hour. The son of Joe Louis. Joe Louis Barrow will be with us as soon as we get back. It's Michael Patrick Shields. 20 minutes before the hour, Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan and seen on Fox 47 television as well, and that's the Rocky theme. But long before there was Rocky, there was Joe Louis, and sometime after there was Joe Louis Barrow. Joe is the son of the boxing legend Joe Louis and the CEO of the First Tee. Great to talk to you again.
How are you? Nice to speak with you as well, Michael.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Do you ever get to Joe Louis Arena in Detroit?
I have been to Joe Louis Arena on a couple of occasions. One was years ago when they unveiled the stamp for my father, if you might remember that.
Yeah.
It was many, many years ago. And I'm trying to remember if I've been since. I don't think so, unfortunately. I do want to get up there one day for a Red Wings game, that's for sure.
Well, let us know. We'll put the dog on for you, as they say. And also, there's a statue of your father in the front of the Cobo Center, too, which is right at the focal point of when everybody comes in. It's a very impressive. It dominates the lobby, so that must be interesting for you to. What do you remember about your father?
Well, I remember that he was a warm, gracious, very engaging individual for me. As you know, I didn't really get to know my father until later in life. And I couldn't understand when I was younger why everybody would interrupt our dinners and lunches at restaurants and want his autograph.
Yeah.
He was just my dad. I didn't quite understand the significance of who he was and the impact he had on individuals. And you mentioned the statue in Cobo Hall. How great was it to have the fist that Robert Graham did so prominently displayed in that Super Bowl commercial that Chrysler did as a symbol of the city and the strength of the city. It was pretty amazing for me to see that. It really speaks to what my father, I think, what he meant to Detroit and how he gave it strength at a time when I think they needed someone to provide them with a level of enthusiasm and confidence in the post-Depression 30s and 40s.
Yeah, and that Joe Louis fist, the Joe Louis statue at Cobo, and Joe Louis Arena, all right next to each other there in downtown Detroit. You and I have a bit of a long history in that back when I worked for the PGA Tour, you were the CEO of the First Tee, and then afterward when I wrote for PGAtour.com, we came pretty close to doing a book, you and I and former President George Herbert Walker Bush, number 41, about life skills. And it was one of the most exciting things in my life to have the opportunity to almost write a book with former President Bush. And when we talk about First Tee, the program, people say, well, you're exposing young people to golf who are in urban and rural areas who might not otherwise have exposure to golf. And they might say, well, so what? That's golf. It's just a sport. But the focus of the book that we were going to write and the big focus of the First Tee is much more than golf. It has to do with life skills. And can you explain that?
Well, Michael Patrick, what we really do is we share with young people what we think are the fundamentals of how they can succeed in life. We teach them how to set goals, how to have confidence in themselves, how to trust their judgment. We have techniques like a goal ladder. It's not enough for you to set a goal, but what steps do you have to take to achieve it? And teach them to have confidence in themselves and develop go-to teams. It's all right at their ages from 8 to 18 not to have all the answers, but they should develop a group of individuals who they can reach out to. And what we've seen over the years is from some of our independent research that 76% of the parents saw an increased level of confidence in their young people. 54% saw an increase in their grades because of their involvement in the First Tee and the life skills component and the 9 core values, which are so critical to us as we share with young people the importance of honesty, integrity, respect, perseverance, confidence. It's really all of that packaged together using the Game of Golf as a platform, which has allowed us to have such a meaningful and significant impact on the young people in our programs.
When you think about it, the quality time that golf gives, let's say you're playing 9 holes, 2.5 hours, something like that, 2 hours. A 16-year-old can be playing next to a 70-year-old, and they can play equally, they can play together, and when is a 16-year-old going to have 2.5 hours with somebody with that kind of experience and knowledge and life, experience, someone for them to emulate when you have a noble sport like golf, where you keep score yourself, you call penalties on yourself. It's just rich with all sorts of life lessons. And now, no longer, I guess, will President George Herbert Walker Bush be the honorary chair of the First Tee. He's decided to hand that down to his son, George W. Bush, I understand.
We're very pleased that President George H.W. Bush is going to remain chairman emeritus of the First Tee. But at our network meeting, which we just had in San Antonio, as you're suggesting, we named George W. Bush, President George W. Bush, as our honorary chair. He's very, very excited to be involved with it. When I first met with him, he basically grilled me to make sure that the program was working, that was having a kind of positive effect, an impact on the young people. And in his closing remarks to our network meeting, he said he really hopes that on his watch that the First Tee will have the societal impact and change that we hope to over the next several years. We really hope to grow our program to reach up to 7, 8, 9 million, 10 million young people collectively, because we really do feel we can influence their thinking, provide a level of confidence for them, and we're going to develop ways of moving into the school systems further. We're in some 4,000 elementary schools now, youth development organizations. So we have a very aggressive, ambitious plan for the next 5 or 6 years. We're delighted to have President Bush involved.
Terrific. I went to see Ken Rayner at Cape Arundel and Kennebunkport this summer, and if you don't know but the people watching and listening right now, the Bush family steeped in golf. The donors of the Walker Cup, George Bush's father was the head of the USGA, and you can get your kids involved in golf. Go to thefirsttee.org. Thefirsttee.org, and we will see you at that Red Wing game, Joe Louis Barrow. Promise me you'll come.
I will promise you to come, and I'll reach out to you, and we'll have a great time. Thank you very much, Michael Patrick.
Good to talk to you again. Joe Louis Barrow, the man who almost engineered a book between myself and George Herbert Walker Bush, number 41, a number of years ago. All across Michigan, it's Michael Patrick Shields. Spartans were in action yesterday. Michigan State trying desperately to mount a late-season charge to make it to the NCAA tournament. That road went through chilly Minneapolis yesterday, a late game against the Golden Gophers. How did they fare? Adam Ruff has the details.
Michael Patrick, last night's game meant a lot to both Michigan State and Minnesota, and it showed by the physical play and defensive intensity as MSU won the Big Ten-style fistfight 53-48. The win did not come easy as MSU trailed 47-39 with 4:33 left. However, MSU ramped up the intensity and ended the game on a 14-1 run by making 7 free throws in the final minute to win the game. Now leading the way in this one was, guess who? Kalen Lucas, who with his 18 points in the game moved into 6th place on the all-time MSU scoring list. And with the win, MSU's record improves to 16-11 overall and 8-7 within the conference, good for 4th place in the Big Ten. Up next is a Sunday matinee affair with number 8 Purdue. Tip-off is slated for 1 p.m. For MPS in the Morning, I'm Adam Ruff with the Spartan Sports Network.
And that'll be at the Breslin Center. The Red Wings were in action yesterday, too. Speaking of Joe Louis Arena, we just got off the phone with Joe Louis Barrow, the son of Joe Louis. He says, I want to get to a Red Wing game at Joe Louis Arena. We're going to make that happen. The Sharks were in yesterday from San Jose, and radio broadcaster Ken Cal was there.
Thanks, Michael Patrick. Devin Setaguchi netted a pair of goals, and Joe Thornton had a goal and 2 assists, leading the way for the San Jose Sharks to a 4-3 victory over the Red Wings last night at Joe Louis Arena. The loss snapped Detroit's 5-game win streak. Jimmy Howard stopped 17 Shark shots, most of them coming on a long Shark 5-on-3 power play in the first period. Joe Thornton netted the power play goal with 8 seconds left. For Thornton, it was his 300th career goal. Dan Cleary netted a pair of goals in the second period. Ryan Close scored on a breakaway, and Devin Setaguchi also connected as San Jose led 3-2 after 40 minutes of play. Setaguchi's game winner came at the 13-12 mark of the final period. Henrik Zetterberg rounded out the scoring with a power play tally. Sharks outshot the Red Wings 43-38. The final again, San Jose 4 and the Red Wings 3. That's the story from Joe Louis Arena. Now back to you, Michael Patrick, in the studio.
That Devin Setaguchi will get you every time. The Tigers first baseman Miguel Cabrera is going to appear in court on March 16th in Port St. Lucie, Florida, charged with DUI, 2 misdemeanor accounts for resisting an officer without violence. He had open alcohol in a motor vehicle, and he's being assessed by doctors. He's going to miss practice in Lakeland there for an unspecified amount of time. And the Pistons lost their first game back yesterday of the second half, 108-101 to the Houston Rockets. They're in Indiana tonight to take on the Pacers. Let's talk about something a little warmer. Golf. And Terry Schieber is with us, one of the nation's most skilled and really knowledgeable golf operators, who has now brought his talents to Stanwood, Michigan, to the villages of Tullymore and the Tullymore and St. Ives Golf Resort. Good morning to you.
Morning, Michael. How are you today?
Did you feel a little bit like LeBron James? Did you have an announcement where you said, I'm taking my talents to Tullymore?
No. Didn't want to keep it that political.
Okay, good. Well, we're glad you did. And already the idea machine is cranking up there in Stanwood, as I understand it. You are encouraging people to come and live at Tullymore. And those homes I've seen there are absolutely fantastic, beautiful, creative, quality. And it's quiet as a church around there. It's a beautiful spot about 20 minutes west of Mount Pleasant, 1 hour from Grand Rapids, a nationally, worldwide acclaimed golf course, and just pure Michigan living. And you want people to come so badly, you're going to make it easy by buying their old home so they can swap?
Right. We'll take your old home in on trade for our home. And with our home comes a golf membership and the beautiful golf courses of Tullymore.
I've heard of people trading in cars. I've never heard of people trading in homes. How does it work?
No, you can't sell your home. We'll take it on trade on the home you purchased at Tullymore. If you have a vacation home that you can't sell someplace else, we'll take it in trade on the Tullymore home.
So somebody...
It's almost as simple as it sounds. We go on the appraised value of your home and make a deal to trade it in, and then you enjoy the lifestyle at Tullymore and St. Ives.
Wow. So someone listening, let's say on our affiliate right now in St. Joe, Benton Harbor, might be saying, you know what, I'm done working. I'm going to go live at Tullymore all year long, and I'm having a tough time selling this house. They can call you up and say, get me out of St. Joe, Benton Harbor. I'm coming to live the good life at Tullymore, and you'll just basically take their home and make their problem go away.
Exactly. It's as simple as it sounds.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that almost sounds too good to be true, but in this case, it really is true.
Yeah, we have some beautiful homes, and everybody knows the economy's been a little bit slow, and people having trouble selling their homes. We're just going to make it easy for them.
What is the range of prices of homes throughout the villages of Tullymore?
Oh, we have some condos that are in the $300,000 range, and we have homes all the way up to $700,000. Well, we have some homes that are also in the $400,000 range. So it's we also have a fractional luxury condos that we have that you can buy it in obviously 4 weeks at a time.
So plenty of options for people at Tullymore and Stanwood.
Yep.
Well, congratulations. I think that's making national news because that's one of the most innovative promotions I've ever heard of, and it makes it very tempting.
We're starting to get phone calls, and people are trying to figure out what the catch is. And as far as I can see, we just really go on appraised value. I mean, if somebody says their home's worth twice as much as it really is, that's the only thing we monitor.
It's a pure Michigan welcome from Terry Schieber at Tullymore, where you can go and live and play anytime you want. That's a blast of summertime for you there, too. Television viewers, we'll see you tomorrow. Radio listeners, Bill Cosby in the next hour with me, Michael Patrick Shields. Stay tuned.
'Cause now it's time to go. But hey, I say, well, that's okay.